Hello, House District 60 and other Oregonians. Finishing up, we think, week 16, approximately 51 days left till constitutional sine die. We got to get out of here the last couple days in June. Hopefully, we'll get out of here 9 to 10 days early. That is what is hopefully projected at this time. So, give you a little updates on what occurred this last week. There's been a more of an ongoing conversation the last couple days that the presiding officers, which is the Senate President, Speaker of the House, or the co-chairs of Ways and Means, are looking to do a continuing service level budget. And that's it. So continuing service level budget is different than a base budget. A base budget would be you come back in with the allocation that you were given last time with no increases, and then have to work through the process of quantifying how you're going to need that funding again. The difference between a base budget and a continuing service level budget is you come back in with the same programs that were authorized in the last budget cycle. You put on additional funding that would cost to continue to cover those programs. So in Oregon, that could be, up to 10 to 20% more. So if you were budgeted, 100 million, your base budget would come in at 100 million, but a continuing service level budget might come in at 110 to 120 million. That seems the direction that the co-chairs will take. The revenue forecast is next Wednesday, May 14th. That will probably solidify what direction they go. But the reason for that and the thought process for that is the federal nexus with the Oregon budget. As our federal government continues to figure out how to get within their means, reducing their budget by $2 trillion a year, that will definitely have an effect on Oregon. How those cuts come down, they're trying to look at the federal level, but it will impact the state budget. To what degree, we don't know. But on average, 30% of the state budget is coming with federal funding. So just to summarize this one, potentially we'll only do a continuing service level budget with no new programs. And then come back in September for a special session to look at the budget implications of the federal funding, maybe tariffs, and get us through a couple more revenue forecasts. So in September, if we need to backfill different agencies or programs because of lack of federal funding, there would be some money left, we believe, on a continuing service level budget. That's probably also where you'll potentially see the transportation package kick to, because the transportation package and a lot of those projects would also be dependent on federal funding. So it's going to be interesting to see how we make it through the next 2 weeks. There will still be lottery bonds because they're different than the general fund. There'll still be general obligation bonds, so there'll still be projects that would go out this long session. But a lot of our policy bills that had a fiscal request with them might not materialize. But we'll keep you up to date. Next week will be a big week in the budget conversations. We had a bill that passed out of the House unanimously that I've updated you guys on a couple times before. House Bill 3127. It's the bill that currently, if you're in a hospital that has less than 10 deaths a year, or maybe 10 deaths a month, you can fill out the death certificate with paper. And that can take up to 6 weeks for those families that are needing that closure, needing that document in order to work through things often delayed. What our bill did was just make all, death certificate reporting use their electronic form that OEJ has. Then you get back sometimes in less than 7 days for those families to go through that closure. Hit a little roadblock in the Senate, even though it passed the House unanimously, that we're still working through. One of our senators over there is a doctor, and she had some concerns with requiring all doctors to use the system. But we're hopeful that we'll work through the needs for Oregonians should outweigh, I think, the needs of a few doctors, or what some say might be an inconvenience. So we'll keep you updated on House Bill 3127 as we work through the process. I've talked about House Bill 3800 previously. It's one that specifically to Harney Basin and groundwater management and voluntary agreements. We put a pause on that right now as the Water Resource Department will come in next week into Harney Basin and show what they believe the preferred alternative is on rules to address the overappropriation of groundwater. Getting further clarity on that will be important to see if we need legislation and what the legislation needs to look like. The department has been working with us on maybe different ideas and thoughts than previous. So we'll wait and see how the rules turn out potentially before moving any legislation forward. Two bills that we're still anxious, even if we have a continuing service level budget to get funded, are the Rangeland Fire Protection Association bills, 3349 and 3350, which basically allows Oregon Department of Forestry to provide surplus vehicles, radios, and supplies and stuff that is needed for RFPAs, and sets up $1 million fund to do that. I want to give a shout out again to our Rangeland Fire Protection Association members. They had their big get together this week in Burns. Our first responders to fire. We need to figure out how to support them more. Uh, I still am confident, even if it's a CSL budget, that we'll get that through. A couple other bills we've been talking about is House Bill 3103, sustainable harvest level on forest lands. Looks like I'm going to get a couple Democrats to join me in an op-ed on that bill. I did make the Oregon Conservation Network hot list, which is a little bit frustrating. We had worked with some of the members of Oregon Conservation Network, and they've got the neutral. We did a lot of work on that, and for it to appear on their hot list, which is basically a kill list, was pretty disappointing that somehow their system or function doesn't work quite correctly. And it shouldn't be on the hot list. This is a good compromise bill. What it does is requires ODF and put out what they're going to harvest. And if they don't, they need to roll it over to the next year. We do not dictate or predicate what those harvest levels should be. They have to follow the private forest accord or habitat conservation plan. It's a good governance bill. So I'll keep you a little updated on that one. Senate Natural Resource Committee had a hearing yesterday on Thursday. Two of our bills that we've been working on and updating you on a lot. One, 3372, which would allow 3,000 gallons of water to be used for a commercial garden so you can take vegetables to farmer markets off of a exempt well. Passed out of the Senate committee unanimously, will now head to the Senate floor. I'll keep you updated on that one, but probably be on the Senate floor next week, and we anticipate that it'll pass. Another one that we've been working on is process improvements with the Water Resource Department to work through permits, backlogs faster, more streamlined. House Bill 3342 also made it through the Natural Resource Subcommittee. So those two bills made it all the way through the House process, now made it through the Senate committee, go to the Senate floor, then pass and go to the governor's for signature. I do appreciate those that are traveling into Salem now or traveled to Salem last night. There's a capital construction ways and means hearing for those requests that cities and counties and individuals have put in from House District 60 are all from Oregon that require lottery funding. So coming down and testifying on that is important to show that you have some, effort put in to ask the state for sometimes millions of dollars. So look forward to talking to some community members before I head home this Friday afternoon. Be safe. Look forward to talking to you guys next Friday.